Hi, I am Rachel Elder. I am owner and one of the therapists at Connected Couples Counseling. This month, we are coming with the topic of how to invite your partner, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you call them, to do couples counseling with you. I'm going to share some things that have not worked from my own experience in my own marriage, as well as listening to friends and clients, and give you a ton of different ways to approach the invitation. I wish I could say from my own experience that I had like a good process that just works for every couple when it comes to inviting your partner to couples counseling. But in my case, my husband, we met the day of my orientation of grad school to become a therapist. He did the whole kind of process with me, and as we were preparing for marriage, I basically said, like, we have to do this because I'm going to be a therapist and I walk the talk. So it wasn't the best invitation. He was a really good sport, really open to it, but he was also really kind of anxious and scared. He was really worried the therapist would tell us, I don't think you guys should get married. That was not the case. That's not the goal of the therapist's position when it comes to couples counseling, is to tell you whether you should be married or not. That's a decision for you to make. But it ended up being a really good experience. But we've done couples counseling since premarital as well. And there have been some ways that I've encouraged him to do therapy that have not worked out so well in my favor. So that's a little bit about our background. I want to walk the talk with what I do with my couples, whether it's individual therapy, couples therapy. But I want to talk about things not to do. So, I don't know. This is probably like early on in our marriage. This wasn't necessarily an invitation to couples counseling. But my husband and I were talking about something, and I had this great idea to tell him straight to his face that this is like a you problem, not a me problem, and you should go get some therapy for it. That really doesn't work. I can tell you that from my own experience, and because it's not vulnerable, it's not open, it's making your partner the problem, putting the blame and the responsibility on them. And when it comes to couples therapy and relationship therapy, there's two of you. It takes two of you taking ownership, naming what's your pieces in the dynamic. It's not just one person doing all the things to impact you. I'm going to highlight, I'm not talking about abusive and toxic relationships. I'm talking about relationships that don't fit into that category. So two people are responsible. What's going to work better, and what I wish I would have said back in the day, I wish I could go back in time, is kind of a phrase like this. I have been working really hard on my own to try to make the things in our relationship better. And I think there are areas that I've improved in, and I recognize I can't be the only one trying to make it better. I also imagine you've been trying to make it better too. Instead of working independently, I'd like to work together on this and try couples counseling to support us. I think it could be helpful to have someone who studies this and has some things that they can see differently outside of our perspectives to help us. Would you be open to trying? I use a lot of I language. It's vulnerable, it's open, it's not pointing the finger, and it had an invitation. Couples counseling, while maybe some of you have done this and it's worked, or you've tried it and it hasn't worked, it has to be an invitation. Couples counseling works best when you are both open to doing the work. Sometimes one partner needs some convincing or can take a little baby step in, and that's great. But it doesn't work if you say, like, we have to do this. It's an ultimatum. I'm in this with you if we do it, or I'm out if we don't. It kind of is holding your partner hostage in a way of, I'm either going to be in a relationship with you or not, depending on how you respond to whether you do this with me. And that doesn't feel good. Couples counseling requires us to be vulnerable, open, willing to look at ourselves and the dynamic together. And if we're being forced into it or demanded to do it, it's going to have some roadblocks in the process. So really focusing on that word invitation is key. You need to invite your partner. You need to be gentle in that invitation. You need to name why you believe it's important to focus on what you need and what your hope and vision is versus pointing the finger, calling them out, blaming them, or shaming them. That doesn't go well. Sometimes your partner, even if you present the invitation so well, they may say no. And I don't want you to take that no as a no forever. We will never do this. Sometimes that no is an initial reaction. They think they're protecting themselves. And it's better to be really curious with your partner and to seek out understanding. Can you tell me more of why it's a no for you? Can you tell me more of why you feel like this wouldn't be supportive? I want to understand your perspective. You got to slow down and lead with curiosity so that you can understand their perspective better. And that might open the door to couples therapy or an area that your partner is willing to step into with you. It could be listening to a book or reading a book together. It could be working through a workbook together. And sometimes stepping into that can be the first stepping stone to getting you to couples therapy. So don't just hear that no and believe you're being shut down or it's a no forever. Get curious about that no. As I said, ultimatums don't work. You might have had them work. You've seen them work for your friends and family. But once again, we want this to be an opening for each of you. We want you both to step into it with open minds, open hearts, willingness to explore and do the work. And ultimatums tend to work against that. So just a few pieces to consider, to not do, and that really focusing on it's an invitation. So with that said, we have 10 different ways that you can invite your partner with what we call like different approaches. So the first one is to take that growth mindset approach. And that could be saying, I love our relationship. I want to keep strengthening it with you. Couples counseling could help us grow in ways that we might not even realize. Could we try it together? The teammate focused approach is I see couples counseling as a working together, not working against one another, or only doing it because something's wrong. I see it as a way of developing a relationship that feels amazing because we both deserve that. Will you explore it with me? The future-oriented approach, which is great for like premarital or newly married, becoming parents. I want the most amazing life and future with you. Will you go to counseling with me to make sure we are building a strong foundation for that? The stress relief approach, which might be a most common approach to use. There's been a lot of stress and tension between us lately. I don't want it to pull us apart. Let's go to counseling to help us get support and navigating things more easily together. What do you think? Sometimes we go to couples counseling for that relationship checkup. It's not that things are necessarily bad or terrible or going wrong, but we recognize we could use a refresher, a tune-up, and we want to do it well. Just like we go to the doctor for checkups to stay healthy, I think our relationship needs its own checkup. I think couples counseling is a great way to make sure we are in a good place to stay healthy together. Can we try it? Conflict resolution approach is also probably the most common one that I would think or I've seen couples utilize. You might see something like this. I feel like our disagreements create a divide between us and it doesn't feel good. I'd love to have a space where we can work better together and through our conflicts constructively. Will you try couples counseling with me? The other approach I would say was maybe like another common one is the I need your support approach. I need some help in understanding and communicating better in our relationship. I don't think my approach is working as well as I think it does. Would you be willing to come to counseling with me so we can work through things together? I can't say like 100% this is going to work all the time, but I think this approach is so incredible because it is you looking at yourself and naming that something isn't working for you in the partnership, but that you're saying, I think my way of going about this doesn't work for us. You're taking a lot of ownership and agency, which is really powerful. And gentle's not the right word. It mismatches your partner in a way that they're like, wait a minute, you're naming your part in this? Okay, I'm on board. Like that makes me feel safe because you're not putting it all on me or pointing the finger at me. You are taking accountability. And when we take accountability while also having compassion for ourselves, it is really healing and opens a door. This is probably our least favorite approach, and sometimes this is another stepping stone. It's just one little entryway. So we call it the try it once approach. Would you be willing to try one session of couples counseling or maybe a few? If it doesn't help, we can stop. It would mean a lot to me if we could try together. The reason this isn't our favorite is just because you need more than one session with couples counseling. When I was working with teens and adolescents, I used to say, like, let's give it 3 tries. Give this 3 sessions, and if after that 3rd session you're just really not into this, you're not feeling it, like, we can wrap it up. So much of couples counseling, like 4 to 6 sessions in, can feel like assessment. At least the first session is assessment. Typically in our approach, we do a couples and individual session, so that takes about 2 to 3 sessions. I would say, could we give this 2 months? Would you be willing to give 2 months to try this out? And that's because it takes time to build rapport and trust with a therapist. It takes time to really like unpack or unravel what really needs to be worked on to dive into the work. So it's just not my favorite approach, but sometimes one session and committing to one session at a time can work and might be the entryway to getting into couples counseling. I think my favorite is the mindset of investing in us approach. Our relationship is one of the most important areas of my life, and I want to invest in making it as strong and fulfilling as possible. Would you consider counseling with me? Oh, I love that. I love couples investing in themselves and not waiting till things are terrible or at their worst. Couples counseling can progress and move so much quicker and faster when you are in that mindset of like, let's grow, let's evolve, let's change together for the best life together. And then our last one. This is the for us, not against us approach. Couples counseling does not mean we're failing. It means we care enough to make it the best it can be. I would love go together. What do you think? So a variety of ways you can ask. In general, when it comes to inviting your partner to join you in couples counseling, you want to be vulnerable. You want to use that I language of I feel this, I need this, I think this could help. You want to take that I language, take ownership, take agency, take initiative, and truly make it an invitation. I know I've been guilty with my husband of thinking something's an invitation, but the expectation is it's the only way to respond is yes. And so when he said no or maybe, I react pretty poorly because I went into it saying I'm inviting you, but really there's only one right way to respond, and that's an expectation, not an invitation. So really keep it in mind. It needs to be an invite. Invites allow the other person to have a voice in their choice, and we need to have that in our relationships. So I always love hearing from you all. I'm curious if you've invited your partner to couples counseling, what's worked, what hasn't worked. Let others learn from you. Let us all learn together. And if you utilize one of these approaches, I would love for you to come back and share. How'd it go? How'd you make it your own? What was it missing? We know these can help, but it doesn't always mean it's going to work every single time. And we welcome feedback. All right, we will see you next month. Bye.